All right, this is just a time lapse of what I cut on the old truck's radiator support. And I just pretty much started with the bottom, and I'll show later in the rest of the video that what all I cut off the newer style one for them to match up. Okay, so I got it mocked up, but as you can see, it's a little low because those two bolts right there go in those two holes, so it's a little low. But I didn't cut too much off. If I would have left that centerpiece, it wouldn't have fit. See, we had to cut out for that. It wouldn't have went across it. It hit the air conditioning condenser. So what I'll do is I'll start to cut that right in there, and I'll set this on top, and I'll just have to cut and fit and cut and fit till I get it another 4 inches or so to come up, and then find a way to attach them. That way I can keep this intercooler mount right there and the mount for this right here. But it ought to work out. It's just gonna take a little bit of time, but I had to close my garage door. It's a little dark in here. My neighbor's building I don't know what he's building over there. But yeah, I'm gonna start cutting and fitting, and I think it's gonna work. I mean, look, it'll clear that once it lifts up. And if I have to, I can trim another 2 inches off of it, and then probably trim more, just depending on how those lines go. All right, so I've got one side bolted in right here, but this side is sticking out probably about 1/2 inch, and it's because that little guy right there, power steering hose. So I'm gonna have to take this off and move it. I also have more to trim. Need to trim this little corner off right there, kind of clean that old one up. I bent this one out, and I'm keeping these 2 holes because that's where these pieces go, and that holds on the grill and some other stuff. But for the most part, you can see the fender, that's as straight as it's gonna get. Back here, you've got this hole in that one that it'll also fasten right there. And then these I pre-fit. Make sure they're right. See, I had to beat that down a little bit to get it to stick. And then this one, right there, and I beat that in a little bit too. So all that stuff lines up. So the only other issue I have though is the AC condenser, this big old thing right here. And it's hard to do this with 2 hands, but anyways, it sticks out on the bottom, and I can push it in a little more. The power steering is behind it, but you can see as you get lower, it sticks out more. So the grill will work. It's this piece between the bumper and the grill that won't work. See, it's off big time. And I don't know about making my own or not, you know. If I suck that in, see, it starts to hit right there. So maybe I don't know if I can trim that. It's not gonna work. I'll have to figure something out, but I cut some more stuff off, and then I'll take this off here. I'll show you where I'm gonna weld it. So this is the old radiator support. I just cut the top off, right, and it went up and around. So I'll just put a piece of, I got some angle iron, I got some 16 gauge. I'll just put that there like that, and it just needs to be a little support. I could probably even bolt it if I wanted it to. And I'll do that on this side too. You can see that one. I mean, I had to hammer a little bit to get it in. And as far as this, I'll just put a plate over it on both of them just to cover them up. But I wanted to leave the battery trays. I mean, where the batteries go. I can put the tray back in. The only issue I'm having is power steering on this side. So I'll have to figure something out. Won't be a big deal. Just kind of bummed about this lower valance, or whatever you call it, not working out really. And I don't know if the bumper's going to work out. It's going to stick out pretty far too. Actually, I have the front bumper right there. Anyways, I got to do some more cutting, tear it all back apart. All right, a little more on the AC / trans cooler dilemma. What I've done is, this fits in good now. I've trimmed it for the power steering, which I took the power steering cooler off, moved it, and I've got this trimmed to fit in. So I'm trying to fit the front valance, whatever you want to call it, the trim piece, and that's where it's got to bolt up. Right like that on both sides. It's hitting this now. So before it was hitting the trans cooler, condenser, and so I'm about 2 inches short on each side. So I'm gonna have to cut this out. I guess I'm just gonna cut it straight down even. I'm going to trim that tab off and hope that it gives me enough room to mount this, and then once I get that mounted, I can measure for, you know, the distance from up here to wherever the top of this is. I have to put the grill in it and measure how much room I have to get a custom-made condenser, which I've already talked to a company that's they're gonna call me Tuesday morning, and I'll have some measurements for them. And then the radiator, the trans cooler, it'll have to be dealt with as well. Power steering can go back down here. That's not a big problem. The hoses can route on the inside of the between the radiator and the intercooler, which I didn't see how much room I have for that. Anyways, I'm gonna start cutting and see if I can fit this front trim piece. It seems like a lot of work just to fit it, but I want it to look original. I don't want to, and the whole reason to keep the dash is to keep the AC. So I'm gonna start trimming, and hopefully I can get it to fit, and we'll go from there. All right. After a bunch of cutting, I got it to fit. It looks like all of it will fit, including the bumper when I cut these square things off. And I'll have to build a bracket to raise the bumper. But the trans cooler does not fit, and the condenser does not fit either. So I've decided, I think, since I'm really not going to be towing a lot with this truck, if I tow something, it's a boat or a tractor, which will not really, the tractor's kind of gone now, so be a trailer with brush or a trailer with something attached to it, on it, not much. So I'm going to move the trans cooler. I think I'm going to put it behind. I'm going to take the spare tire out, or spare tire rack, take it out and mount it here and see if it runs hot. It's all the wiring with the lights and stuff, but I don't have a spare tire for it, and if I do, I'll just throw it in the bed. But with cell phones these days, if you got a flat, just pull over and somebody come help you out. But yeah, I can run the trans lines through the frame rail. But I think that's what I'm going to do. I think I'm going to move that trans cooler back here, plumb it up. As far as a condenser, I'm going to take this all back apart. But I'm hoping that I can fit it between that. Now, I know the intercooler is is going to probably restrict the heat some. That's the only bad thing, because there's no room. Like, this thing's just hanging right here right now. So if I push it, that might fall. So if I push it flush, right, it's flush on that side, you know, there's no room between the grill and the intercooler. I mean, there is, but I'm looking at, I don't know, maybe that will be extremely loud on camera. And what I'm looking at now is, you know, it's not very, there's not much room, you know. If I went the width of the grill, maybe 30 something inches by 12, maybe not even 12. I'll have to measure it. And like 1 inch wide, if that. So we'll see what that company says. They're gonna call me Tuesday. I'll have measurements for them. And if they can make me one that would work, then yeah, I can put it behind the grill and have it, you know, have it in front of the intercooler up high. Maybe that'll help out. And then power steering cooler can go back. It mounted right here. And it could go back. The bumper will sit, I think the bumper is a little more, so the bottom of the bumper will come up right below, right on the bottom of this. And then the power steering, you'll be able to see the power steering cooler, but that's fine. But yeah, this, I think I might take measurements and see if I can, I think True Cool makes a bigger one. I might go bigger. That way when I move it to the back, it's gonna be bigger and yet, you know, make up for the being moved back here. But I think it'll be fine. I mean, especially if I mount it at an angle in here, just a slight angle will still help. But I'll have to figure a way to keep it, you know, I'll just have to keep it clean. That's all. But yeah, so the front works. I mean, you know, it's there. It's gonna work. Just got to reroute some stuff and hope that some other stuff lines up. But we'll see. I'll keep y'all posted. I know it's gonna be a long video of a lot of stuff, but you know, if you got a bullnose and you're thinking about doing this, it's gonna take a lot. I'll take this all back apart and show you what I cut. And then what I'm gonna do to fab it and make it a little stronger on these mounts. All right, so I got all the front end stuff torn back apart except for the radiator support. And you can see where I cut. I cut this and notched it out so that that piece could mount up. And then what I'll do is I'll probably end up plating this and probably leave that. Just do a plate, and then you can see this is, I haven't fastened it all together, but it's lined up good. So I will probably, once this gets sucked up against the fender, I've already kind of scribed where I want. And I don't know if I'm gonna just kind of do a piece of angle iron and bolt it. That way, if I need to take it apart, I just unbolt it or weld it. I'll probably just do bolts. Probably just a piece of angle iron. And so I got one hole, do another hole, and just do bolts. And that way, and then this still needs to come up. A lot of adjustments that needs to be made, but, and then that's it. So what I'll probably do next is I need to take this off as one piece and then see how much room is in between radiator and the intercooler. Take some measurements and see if that company can make me a custom condenser, or I can fit the condenser between it. But I think that's going to hinder the actual cooling effect for the air conditioning, so we'll see. Okay, so the condenser will not fit between these two. So we'll have to just get one custom made to fit somewhere. What I did was, I think it'll go behind the grill. Just have to use from here up. And if I have to, I even thought about notching out the back of this grill where it needs to go. I can take a little bit out of here if I need to, but I think the custom one will work dimension wise. But we'll see what that company says when they call if they can make me one, which they should be able to. But I'd had to do some patchwork here. I cut this. It didn't need to be cut up to there, so I just welded that back up and painted it and shot some black paint on the parts that were cut just to stop it from flash rusting. But yeah, we'll see what happens Tuesday. It's gonna be a long video, but it's got a lot of information on the issues coming across and what to do to handle them. Transcooler, we're just gonna move it to the back. We'll just run probably that same stuff I use for the fuel, that AN fitting stuff. Probably use some of this, but that's smaller. We use bigger hose. Anyways, I'll let you know what they say Tuesday. All right, real quick. I was looking through my videos, trying to put one together to put on the channel real quick to update. And I didn't talk about what that company said. So I called that company, tried to get them to make me a condenser that would fit on the top end. And I had the measurements and everything, but they don't make them that accommodate these fittings, which is kind of a letdown, because I mean, what do you ask for a custom made condenser or custom made anything, you would think that they would put the fittings you want, but they said all they deal in is SAE fittings, and I'd have to get a conversion to convert that to those fittings or run new lines. But then if I run new lines, the compressor fittings are also block style Ford fittings. So what I did was I got online, I found a smaller condenser for a smaller Ford, which I got one for an Expedition that's a little bit smaller than this one, and a Ford Freestyle, I think is what they called it. It's like a station wagon version of the Taurus, which is a little bit smaller than this one. So I got both those on order. We'll see which one fits, but they're both the block style connections. So this will bolt straight up to it, and hopefully it will fit behind all this stuff. And if it does, then that's great. It won't be as efficient because that's 29 inches tall. That's about 30 by 30 right there that fit in front. So it may hinder the AC effect, but hey, it's a single cab. It's as long as there's something cool blowing out of the vents, I'll be good with that. But I'm gonna throw this video together and I'll put it up, and then about a week the parts will come in and I'll shoot a quick short video on that.